So, hello everyone, and good evening, my friends here in India, and good morning to all the friends joining from the US. It is indeed a wonderful opportunity for me to have you all here to listen to our experiences through Let's Talk Education session. Please accept my heartfelt welcome on behalf of the Directorate of Education, Delhi. I wish to talk a bit about Let's Talk Education initiative as to how it came into being. Let's Talk Education is a platform for educators and learners to share, collaborate, and grow together. With the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, all the activities came into grinding halt, and school education got deeply affected and immobilized without exception. It was crucial to reestablish the connection amongst the homebound teachers. So I made it a point to organize such session through Let's Talk Education. Primarily, it was to address the issue and challenges cropped up during that horrible times. Further, it got extended, overarching every possible aspect related to education. And I'm happy to announce that we have organized more than 120 sessions successfully. Along same line, we are here today in this three-part session with Fulbright scholars. Earlier also, we had the opportunity to interact with the educationists and scholar from across the globe. But this is going to be a super exciting session when we have Fulbright scholars from across the continents, that is Asia, Europe, Africa, and they are joining from Indiana University, Pennsylvania, US. This is true exchange of knowledge actually. Fulbright program is one of the major educational and cultural exchange initiative that leverage the intercultural competence by amalgamation of people, knowledge, and skills across the globe. In India, good number of Delhi government teachers have been to the US under Fulbright scholarship. In this session itself, we have Niru Loyaji, who serves as a mentor teacher in Delhi. She is the most recent Fulbright scholar from Delhi. With further ado, I would like to invite Niruji to take over and introduce us with the panel. Niruji.
Thank you, Rohit. Hello, everyone. I welcome each and every one of you to the first session on the topic, Understanding Education Systems Around the Globe. Before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all the Fulbright Fellows who readily accepted my invitation for these sessions. We all know that education is of paramount importance to an individual as well as the society. These sessions are specifically aimed at sharing of unique aspects pivotal to respective education systems. Now, let me introduce you to today's presenters. We have among us Ms. Deline Etwebimbere. She's a classroom teacher, trainer, and educational researcher from Uganda. Welcome, Ms. Deline. Next, we have Mr. Gerald Mahumuza. He is a deputy head teacher from a private school in Uganda. Welcome, Mr. Gerald.
Hello. Nice to see all of you.
Next, we have Ms. Mari Rautavirta. She is a special educator from Hollola, Finland. Welcome, Ms. Mari.
Namaste.
And lastly, we have Ms. Maria Baruta. She is a primary school teacher and musician from Corfu, Greece. She is an excellent pianist.
Thank you,
Ms. Maria.
Thank you very much, and to all of you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nirulogia, for the invitation. We're very happy to be here.
Due to paucity of time, each presenter will be speaking about one or two exceptional features of their education system that has had a significant impact on the learning of students in their country. Without taking too much time, I would now hand over the session to Mr. Gerald Mahumuza, who will start with sharing the most important feature that he feels about the Ugandan education system. Over to you, Gerald.
Thank you, Ms. Niru. And a good morning to all of you, a good afternoon, a good evening, depending on where you are. I am very happy to be in this session, the first of many understanding education systems from around the globe. The other introductions have been made, and I would like to go straight to the presentation. Let me now try to share my screen so that we can go to the presentation. Give me one moment, please. Okay. I would like to get some feedback. I would like to know if we can see the presentation. Are we there? Are we good?
Not right now, Gerald.
Okay, just a moment. What about now?
Yes.
All right. All right, all right. Just a moment. I'd like to get to the presentation. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. All good.
So the topic I would like to share is the role of co-curricular activities in boosting or improving students' self-efficacy. And this is from my observations and experience as a deputy head teacher at St. Julian High School, Seta, in Uganda. A little about the school. It is purely private, day and boarding, mixed school. Mixed means it has boys and girls. It is located in Seta, a suburb near the capital city of Uganda, Kampala. It admits students from all walks of life. We cannot say that we cater for the middle class or any other class. It is students from all walks of life. A population of 850 students. That was before lockdown. And we try to bring the best out of each learner through vibrant academic programs, identification and development of talent, spiritual nourishment, and of course, the actual nourishment. The food is good and enough. Co-curricular activities. We offer sports, soccer, netball and volleyball. And as I outline these activities, I would like to highlight that a sport like soccer needs only one ball to engage the entire school. If you have arranged it well as a competition, there will be two teams versing each other, and the rest of the school will come out to support or to oppose, and the whole school will be engaged and a lot will be achieved. Netball and volleyball are similar. You just need a ball and a net or a few hoops, and you'll get much out of it. Music, dance, and drama, you also don't need much. And I'm emphasizing this because in some settings, school managers think that this is a waste of resources and time, but it can be done quite effectively and efficiently. Debate is where you see the children's understanding or how they appreciate various contemporary issues. You just give them a motion and you allocate a room and time and be there to supervise, and all will be well. Quiz is a form of formative assessment, and teachers stand to benefit a lot by preparing the quiz questions and being there to direct the quiz. Everyone ends up benefiting. The competition in the quiz, you could make it girls versus boys or class versus another class. It brings out the students' best. They strive to win, and in the process, they learn quite a lot of the academic side of it as they do the co-curricular side of it. I've talked quite a bit. Let me show you a glimpse of how a debate setting would look like in my humble school. Sorry. Let me do that again, please. As you can see, that is a main hall packed full of young boys and girls. And the speaker was convincing them that education does not stop at sitting in class and listening or learning what the teacher has to tell you, that there is a lot more to education, including the various things that have to be done outside the classroom, in school, and even beyond. Let us look at something else. MDD is short for music, dance, and drama. So this is an example of a creative dance. And by just watching it, you may not understand or believe what went behind the scenes. Let me put it in context. Excuse me. For the creative dance, there was little teacher involvement. The students were just told the theme and told the time when they would appear on stage, and the rest was left to them. So they were able to figure out many things, organize themselves, and know who is going to go on stage at what time and what they're going to do. So it was a wonderful example or opportunity for them to develop their 21st century skills of communication, collaboration, creativity, problem solving, innovation, self-directed learning without the aid of a teacher. Now, the most interesting thing about it is that on that weekend, there was no one in the sick bay or the infirmary. The nurse was quite idle. Yet on other days, the infirmary would be full of various people complaining of various ailments. To make it more strange, the usual casualties in the sick bay appeared on stage as lead performers. And that led me to the conclusion that the other activities were boring them. They were not bringing out, they were not ringing a bell. They were not striking a chord with them. But on this day, we saw talent that we had never imagined existed. So on the basis of that, I think that co-curricular activities do bring out students from their shells. And students who have participated in co-curricular activities have shown improved self-esteem. They are willing to take on challenges as opposed to giving up even before trying. They are able to handle setbacks and achievements. In most cases, people concentrate on handling setbacks, but there are some people who are destabilized by achievements. A student performs well only once, gets praised, and that is the last time, because they do not know how to handle achievements. But in such settings, there is winning, there is losing, there is learning, and there is repeating. Discipline. Many students who participate in these activities do not have time or the motivation to engage in discipline acts. And commenting on discipline, one of the motivators of indiscipline in many cases is the need to be recognized. When the activities available are not relevant to what somebody wants, they will do something against the rules so that they may be noticed. But in many cases, we tend to reprimand or punish such instead of finding the root cause and seeing how to address it. General health. As I told you, the school has 850 students, and on a particular day, we would register about 2 to 5 cases of fainting and some unexplainable ailments in the sick bay. But when we started this program of including the co-curricular activities, the cases of fainting were eliminated completely without using any medicine. Every student was engaged in whatever they felt like, whatever they liked, and they felt that they belonged to the system and all was well. Participation in class improved as confidence improved. The students were able to ask questions. The ones who were timid earlier on now had the confidence after being recognized on stage. They knew that even when they stood up in class, it would just be a continuation of their recognition. So they improved in class, and in the long run, there was an improvement in the achievement in class. So the general self-efficacy, the can-do attitude, as opposed to the quitting attitude, is greatly improved or enhanced by participation in co-curricular activities. However, there are some who may remain unstimulated by any of the activities. And these ones, to me, I think possibly they may not be interested in what is available. Somebody could be interested in golf or cricket or basketball or something, or ice hockey, which is not available. And that is a possibility. However, those particular students may have some underlying issues and may need closer observation to really establish what the problem is. Some may need more prompting to overcome their initial fear or inertia. And those who do not respond to all that may need assessment for special needs challenges so that they can get some specialized handling where needed. I'd like to conclude by saying that a school should offer a balanced menu. And we're not talking about what is served at the cafeteria only. That should also be balanced. But the activities, both in class and outside classroom, should be well mixed and well balanced in order to bring out a well-rounded student, rather. I thank you so much. I would like to hand you over to Miss Niru. Over to you, Niru. Let me stop sharing.
Miss Niru, you have to unmute your microphone. We can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Gerard. We all are aware of the importance of the co-curricular activities in improving the academic abilities of the students. It was a very enlightening and enriching talk that you gave. And the most surprising feature of the talk was that you were able to manage or eliminate, I should say, all the problems that students were having without using any medicine. That was wonderful.
Yes, I was also pleasantly surprised that students who were fainting all of a sudden stopped fainting and they paid more attention. They were more active and more interested in their academics. Mm-hmm.
And as teachers, we have witnessed many times on many occasions that the solution might be as simple as engaging students more, without just focusing on the academics. Academics is a part of the overall growth that we expect from students. And if we try that small thing that would impact the personality of the students and improve self-efficacy, as you said, then we may be able to eliminate a lot more problems and we may achieve a lot more just by catering to the interest of students. With this, I would invite Ms. Deline to please share about her experiences as an educator. Over to you, Ms. Deline.
Please unmute, ma'am. Kiran ma'am, please unmute yourself first.
Deline, you are on mute. Deline, you have to
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now I think I'm okay.
Yes.
So good evening, India, and good morning for this for those in America. My name is Daline Atwebembire. I'm from Uganda. I'm a teacher and I'm a teacher trainer. I work with Uganda National English Language Teachers Association. I'm their finance officer. And I'm a teacher administrator at one of the private schools where I am a visiting administrator. And I am a teacher in a public school. And I think our challenges are always the same globally with teachers. I have presented at the ALZEL conference. It is African Lake Zone English Language Consortium. I have attended TESOL conferences, the virtual ones, and our problems are always the same, especially with large classrooms. So I don't want you to be there and think that you have these problems. It is only you who have these problems. They are global, especially the problem of large classrooms. And still with learning disability, I am not a special ed teacher, but I have a special interest in learning disabilities. And I have made some research while here at IUP. I would think that America has got a great deal of teachers, especially special ed teachers, who handle it very well, other than in my country, because in my country it is still at school level. So I would like to share my screen. And I don't know, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Deline, we can.
Okay, so I'm like every other person, the theme is understanding education around the globe. And around the globe, I come from Uganda, so it is what I'll be discussing. And I'll go straight out. Sorry?
Deline, could you do it on the full screen?
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. Okay, it's fine now, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. So I'll begin with this quotation by George Evans that every student can learn, just not the same way or in the same way. So with the topic of dealing with students with learning disabilities, we all have students with learning disabilities, whether we know it or we don't know, whether we take it as the responsibility of the school psychologist and the special ed teacher, or we take it upon ourselves that we are the key leaders in helping these students. We should always admit that these students are there. They won't learn at the same pace. Even during our high school days or our elementary days, we did not learn at the same pace with others. I remember myself as a student who used to ask lots of questions to the teacher until all other students would get so angry with me because I didn't learn at the same pace. And after asking questions, I would understand much more than the others who were getting angry at me. So when teachers are dealing with students, let's help those with learning disabilities. I'm happy that in India, some of the students are already on IEPs, which is not in Uganda, because ours are still on a school level. There are some schools where they don't care about students with learning disabilities, especially the ones who don't have any physical disability, and it is really really bad. So I'll go to straight away to what learning disabilities are. Of course, as teachers, most of you know, but for the benefit of those who don't know, I'll go through them very fast. And there are disorders that affect the ability to understand, even if I don't go ahead. Anything that can affect the learner's learning. Sometimes you'll be teaching and the kid can't read just like others. He's lagging behind. He can read only a few words. So we have dyscalculia. We have kids who cannot calculate anything, be it 2 + 4. So those students are always there in class. And even those who cannot participate in movement lessons, like the practicals of science subjects. So examples of learning disabilities that we deal with in schools, we usually don't deal with physical disabilities because those have their own schools in Uganda. But then there are these 13 usual learning disabilities. We have those kids with autism and autism spectrum disorder. And we have deafness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual ability. And most of us deal, of course, I will read for the ones that most of us deal with, which are intellectual disability. And then we have specific learning disability. And then we have autism and emotional disturbance. Those are the most ones in our schools, the ones that are leading our students to lag behind the others, and the ones that we have to help. So I'll go to the next page. What do you do when you have students with learning disability? Whether they are on IEPs, for those who don't understand IEPs, that is Individualized Education Plan. When we identify a student that has a learning disability or that is behind others, they usually are given a test, an IQ test, and afterwards you call their parents, have an agreement with them, and write a plan for that individual student that their special ed teacher, their teacher in an all-inclusive class can follow. It could be after some lessons during class, because you're not supposed to separate them permanently from the rest of the class. It has to be, the kid must stay in an all-inclusive class and then take private lessons to help him catch up with the rest of the class members. So what mainstream teachers do usually, they leave the job to the special ed teacher, the psychology teacher, or what they do, they teach what they're supposed to have on plan without giving this emotional support to the learner. And then some students take very long to catch up with the others, even on IEPs. In countries which have a lot of special human rights, like the US, there are some parents who have sued schools and schools have paid a lot of money because the kid is not being helped by the IEP. So how do we help kids, whether they are on IEPs or they are not on IEP yet? So regularly as a teacher, please give them emotional support. Tell them that you can. There is a teacher recently who was talking to us and asked us if there is a student, a statement that your students say every morning they enter class. And he has made chants with his classes. The moment they enter, students know, they will just stand and they raise their right hand and they say, I can do this and I will do this and I will win because I'm a winner. So students say, they chant that every time they come to class and they believe in themselves. So let your students, whether they are on IEP or not, believe in themselves that they can. Meet them, ask about them, know about their families, know about what they go through. So it will be easy for them to catch up with the rest. Then you must break your lesson into small steps for them to understand, you know. And if the kid is on IEP, follow it religiously. Don't just do it because it's your job, but make sure that you're helping someone in future who is going to become something. And because you have them in an all-inclusive class, please use direct instructions. I think I will forgive my teacher if he explains to me, my mathematics teacher, for not explaining things, for going to the board and writing his calculations and leaving me blank. If he had explained every step, I would have been a very good mathematician, maybe. And then you set goals, for instance, for us who teach reading, the words per minute. for every student that how many words can they read per minute? How are you encouraging them? At most points, you involve the parents that even when they are home over the weekends, they can read with them and they increase on these words, because every time they spend on IEP, it's emotional torture for them amongst their fellow students, because they know that they are behind. The earlier they do it, the faster, the better. Then frequently verbalize instructions. I was a student, so I know that teachers hate repeating instructions. They will say, go to page 11, find the test there, do it and present it for marking. And that's all. Please read instructions verbally and repeat them. Being written on the board or being written in the book is not enough for the learner to understand them. I am a mature student, but there are times when professors say something instructional and I don't understand. I have to ask my neighbor, what if my neighbor got it wrong? So another thing is repeating points and explanations, because it is important, especially for students with SLD, specific learning disability. Then, as we all know, kinesthetic teaching or hands-on activities are good for students with a disorder problem. We all know. I usually joke with my friends that I think I have attention disorder problems. So there are students who can't pay attention in class. They are distracted and distractive, but science teachers can bear me witness that these students perform well in practical subjects. So try to make your subject as practical as possible if you have students with attention disorders. So I will shift to, if there are questions, they'll come later. I'll go to best classroom practices. And my specific area is for those with large classrooms. Why? If you have a small classroom, usually things are easy to go to individual students, but most of us have problems of large classrooms. When I say in Uganda, I mean as large as 100. Yeah, there are sometimes in public schools, we have very big classes and we have got to reach individual students. So what to do? Rearrange furniture for interaction. We have changed our curriculum, and the students in high school, the first year, have already started. The pandemic interrupted it, but we are on it. With the new curriculum, they strictly told teachers to group students. So students should not face the blackboard. That factory, the teaching which was intended for factory workers has ended. Its era has ended. Make circles, or you make, let students face each other, or make groups, or put furniture in a line, in a row or lines that they face the other side, but do anything other than the traditional way of sitting. It encourages we usually call them backbenchers, who rarely participate in class. So if you have a large class, know your students by name. Teachers ask me at school, how come you know all students? There is no special brain work or unique brains that can get people's names. It's concentration and interest. If you are my learner, I need to know your name. In class, I have to mention your name if you raise your hand for an answer. It makes people feel special. There is an author called Dale Carnegie, I think. He wrote How to Make Friends and Influence People. Look up that book. He talked about the special thing someone feels when their name is called. And he mentions a specific USA president who knew all his staff, from the vice president up to the last person who was a cleaner and the cook. So whenever he called people by names, they would feel special. It didn't need them to get a pay rise or anything. So as a teacher, please know your learners. I know my learners from senior 1 to senior 6, and I thank God for it, but I put in effort to know them. Know them by their anything, by their behavior, by their performance, It will help you to curb down behavior problems in class because it's a large class. And then grouping, pair work, peer work is always effective when you give them tests, assignments, class assignments, other than doing it themselves. So I usually use methods of numbering 1, 2, 3, that is group 1. I use elbow partners. If you're facing this side and you just take your elbow backwards, the person that it will knock, then that is your partner. Go, do your work together. And then the peers, always look for ways to group them, though you should not have them in the same group throughout the semester. They will get used to each other and they won't perform properly. Then get learning strategies that suit your class. With the pandemic, we're using computers, most of us, to teach. So get something that you feel your students are interested in and that you love. For those using PowerPoint slides, for those who use traditional methods like role play, I love role play because when they do it themselves, they understand it. Dramatization, sometimes we play skits before class begins because mine is literature and English. We love those kinds of things. Then don't take negative behavior personally. I'm a school administrator and on a daily basis, I have to deal with teachers who are sending away students from class. I hate it. And I don't know whether it is because I'm an administrator, but even because I'm a teacher, you can't say you're a teacher and you can't tolerate these learners unless they have been so aggressive to the point of beating someone or fighting. But the idea of sending away students, I always ask my teachers, if your objective was to teach all learners and you have sent 5 of them outside or to go to the head teacher's office, have they studied? Have they learned what you taught? Have you achieved your objectives? Will you go back to your schemes of work and you say lesson taught successfully? No, it won't. So you can set your behavior terms and you'll agree with them in class. Let them participate. What happens when someone goes outside without permission? Then they will tell you themselves the punishment that suits that person. So don't let negative behavior affect your classroom for the day. Just deal with it and know that you're a parent and they are students. They are your children. Find a way of dealing with it. I have never let a student ruin my day because they have behaved negatively. Just tame your anger because your role is to teach, not to fight with these young ones. I have seen teachers go to extreme cases of packing their things and go out. That is the most ridiculous thing of leaving the class because tomorrow you're going to come back unless you're quitting your job. So when you're in a big class, negative behavior is bound to happen because these are many students. They think you have no control of them. Get means of dealing with them. And then I have found in the US, they use a lot of co-teaching. If you are a school administrator, because this involves money, find means of putting like 2 teachers in one class. One will be controlling students. Miss Niru can bear me witness. We have small classes in the US, like 25 students, but they always co-teach. And she's always the one to control students, to explain to them the concepts, in their groups to monitor them. It is quite a very interesting method. If you're a school administrator, advocate for it. If you are a teacher and you have a friend, it doesn't require money. You can convince them to always co-teach with you. So I think my time is done. Thank you so much. I expect questions. I have put my email address in case of further questions, especially now that I'm in the US, which has got a good system. You can always contact and I explain further. Thank you so much. I think I'm supposed to say namaste at first, but it's not too late. Namaste. Thank you, Miss Niru. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Deline. You have indeed touched upon 2 of the most important issues that almost all teachers face. I believe that we have a question, Rohit.
Yes, Niru. There is a question in the chat box.
Yeah.
One of our fellow mentors has asked you, Bhavna has asked you about how to teach abstract content or concepts to the autistic children. It's really an important question because when we teach 2 + 2, there are ways to teach them. We use mathematical manipulatives. But when teaching abstract content, it's really challenging. Please.
Is that to me?
Yeah. Yes, Deline.
Okay, thank you so much. So when it comes to autistic students, I always advise teachers to deal with them at a personal level. So putting them in mainstream classes will just make other students feel, will make the autistic students feel stupid, because the other students look at them like they are not, their brains are not working properly or anything. I would advise that if all appears abstract, please engage this student on a personal level. You might teach during the all-inclusive class, but then come where the student is and tell him that I will see you later. If you don't understand anything, I will see you later. After class, come and see me. Just be patient with me. I had a boy, he was autistic, and some teachers would make fun of him, and students, like, he doesn't understand anything. So what I would do, I would always come to him during class, because his facial expression shows he's not understanding anything. So I would tell him, I'll see you at this time. And whenever he would come, because he wants to learn, I would elaborate like step by step on an individual basis. And it really helped him. He passed English more than every other subject, because teachers were wondering, why did he pass only yours? But others already had the testimony that I would meet this boy personally. I loved him. I would give him something to eat, and he loved me back. So he concentrated and passed it. That is a method I would advise for autistic students.
Thank you, Ms. Delin. Ms. Bhavna, do you want to add something?
Thank you so much, Delin. You have explained it wonderfully. And I have one more question. Like you said that for autistic children, we can say that you can come to me later, the example that you quoted. One more thing, that it is difficult for them to generalize the things. For example, if they know how to count on paper, then they are not able to count in real life. They are not able to, say that what will be the total of mangoes or toffees or objects, but they can do it on paper. So is there any way that we can bring them to generalization of things? Thank you.
I believe most of them are on IEPs. So I would think that you would be patient with them, because you already know they are not learning at the same pace with others. It takes a lot of patience, because they're already on IEP. I think you can have them in the all-inclusive class, not to feel alone, not to feel like they are not like others, but then follow regularly their IEPs to make sure that they will either get close or catch up with others, because most times the autistic students I have seen take long to catch up with others. So just be patient with them. That is what I would advise. It is different from this with specific learning disability, with emotional problems, because for them, sometimes they see words and then they can't read them, or they can read them, but they have another problem, or they can't read at the same pace with others. If in counting, you're right, sometimes they have they see numbers and they can't see them, they can't count them, or they can't say them. It is always challenging, because you have to know where the problem comes from and, follow their IEPs. That is what I would think, until they can learn something.
Thank you so much, Delin. It was lovely listening to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Delin. I saw another question in the chat box, and it was that how to take care of the gifted students. So for that, in the US, we have observed that teachers have IEPs for special ed students as well as the gifted students.
Yes.
Because the student has some special needs, even if the student is gifted, there is an IEP specifically aimed to take care of the engaging activities that are advised to the teachers, so that the gifted students could remain engaged within the classroom. So let's move forward. Next, I would invite Ms. Maria Baruta to please share her experiences as an educator. Over to you, Maria.
Thank you very much. Good evening to all respected guests from India, and good morning to my dear colleagues in IUB. Let me share my screen and I will start right away. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes. Yep.
Okay, great. I am an elementary.
Maria, I see
Yes?
that you've written namaste, and what's that?
It's yasas, it's namaste in Greek. It's in Greek, yasas. Yes. Yes. I am an elementary teacher for 13 years and a musician. And through my experience, I have seen that students learn when they are interested, when they like what they do, and when they are in a really nice environment when they can work together and be comfortable to share their ideas and communicate with their fellows and their teachers. So the subject that I chose for today was some innovative practices in education. And they have to do mostly with science, because I love science and I love arts, and I love even more the combination of them both. And there are two subjects that they are combined, and the main thing they share is creativity, because neither science nor art can exist without creativity. It cultivates it in students, and we need that because research has shown that really small children until the age of 2, they are creative up to 98%. And then when they reach the 6th grade or like 10, 11 years old, their creativity is reduced up to 30%. And adults, we're like at 2% creative. And we just wonder what happened since our school age and years. And this thing is gone because we all have it and we need to cultivate. So one subject that Greece has made huge progress is the implementation of innovative projects and activities through the STEAM approach, which combines science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And it has a lot of benefits because it is an inquiry-based form of learning and teaching. We can show our students how to work through phases that have a logical consequence. I provide 2 very interesting instructional models, the 5E learning and the design thinking. Both engage students very much. They have to engage in a specific issue or subject or topic. Scientific, they have to explore, to find more about it. They have to explain what they're going to do and elaborate, and finally to evaluate their work and what they have created. Design thinking is also very important because it includes the concept of empathy. Students empathize with problems that we face, not only in our local community, but in the whole world, and they have to think and find a solution to create something to help and make others people's lives better and their lives better. And of course, it offers an interdisciplinary way of teaching. We can combine all of our subjects. We don't have to focus on science and leave aside reading or writing. We can combine everything in it. And it gives a holistic perspective of knowledge. And it helps students to connect these problems and science with real world, because in some of my project, I ask my students to paint, to draw the scientists that they have in mind. What does a scientist look like for you? And they were always were drawing the scientists like crazy people with crazy hair in laboratories with white uniforms, just isolated in their rooms. And this is not the truth. And after our implementation with projects, after talking with scientists, they realized that science is an integral part of our everyday life. And this is what I want to promote to my students, because we have to prepare them for jobs and careers that maybe don't exist today. They will face a really challenging future. So what I would like to present are some innovative programs and projects that I have personally participated in, and a lot of Greek teachers have very active participation every year. The first one is the Frontiers Project. It is a project to bring Nobel Prize physics in the classroom. Teachers are trained about astroparticle physics, astrophysics, gravitational waves, and high energy. It is for both elementary and secondary students, and each level implements activities according to their level of education, of course. But it's amazing to see the interest of the children when they realize how, for example, the Aurora Borealis phenomenon happens, the Northern Lights, and talk about cosmic rays through simple experiments that we have in elementary school. So this is very interesting, and they can collaborate through projects. This is also very important. The Global Science Opera is another project that runs internationally in Europe, and it combines science with art. Students all over the world have to create a small video with a choreography, a performance, a sketch, whatever they want on a specific scientific or environmental subject. And then in the end, all these videos are like merged together, and they create this big opera, the Global Science Opera. Another very interesting also project that offers the methodology science as a whole is the Polar Star project, that also help us to show our students how we can connect different scientific concepts and work on them. I have some activities I can show you and explain how it works and what we implemented last year. The Rom Project is a really interesting project that combines coding with geography and earth science. Students have to use Scratch, the digital tool for coding, to create a game for one of the 4 natural disasters like earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, or storms. And the challenges are big because sometimes we don't have equipment or the facilities to do, but even with something small, we can step by step create something, and they can learn about coding, what it is. It's very interesting for them. They can explore by themselves. They can try, they can make questions, and they can see how it works. So we had our game for earthquakes, and they really enjoyed it. They really loved it. The next one is the Playing with Protons program, which is in collaboration with the European Center of Nuclear Research in Europe in Geneva. Every year, 10 educators from Greece are trained there for 4 days, and then we can implement experiments in our classroom about astroparticle physics. We can have virtual tours and see the ALICE experiment, the Virgo experiment, how it is implemented, and scientists there can explain to our students how it works and how we can detect, for example, particles. This is really impressive for students to see. And of course, there's a huge variety of material in the European Space Agency official site for education. We have the Teach with Space material for both elementary and secondary education. And there are a lot of competitions that are about missions that actually are happening. And students can participate actively, can have their measurements. There was one very interesting activity. They had to code an instruction, and that instruction would run for a few seconds in the International Space Station. And they could see that what we created is actually run in such a huge organization in the International Space Station with astronauts, and they are so thrilled to be part of this and participate. And the most important thing about this is the global collaboration that it promotes, because global collaboration is a key for dealing with huge problems in our planet, right? And we have some programs like the Erasmus Plus and the eTwinning that promotes this collaboration between classrooms, not only in the same country or in the local community, but all over Europe. These are international programs that run in Europe. Of course, I think that any educator can ask to participate, and I think it's open, totally open to anyone that would like to try and see what it is about. And I can share the resources and the links for everything. Ms. Neer, you can share with your colleagues if they would like to explore more. An example about this collaboration I would like to give you, it's for example, one of my friends in Portugal, they had with their students a performance about the Global Science Opera. They talked about ocean pollution, and she asked me to compose the music of their choreography. And when the students found out that a friend of their teacher from Greece is writing and we cooperate for something like that, they were so excited and emotional and thrilled to see that teachers collaborate, scientists collaborate. In all these organizations, scientists from all over the world work together. And this is the most important thing that they can see and they can do in the classroom. They can feel confident, they can support each other to learn. And I have seen students a bit shy to be more confident. I have seen students with ADHD to be concentrated and try to follow instructions and get better. It has a lot of benefits and a lot of different aspects of education and learning. So I would like to share some pictures. These are two beehives that we created last year. And the philosophy and the methodology behind that is that we choose one of the concepts of the big ideas of science, for example, energy, and we start and create a hive about this concept, for example, electricity. And students in one hive, they create something, they write or they draw something about electricity. And in the next hive, they have to connect it with something that they learned either in physics and science in another lesson. For example, talk about electrons and then talk about the particles and the atom structure. And they have to connect all these concepts. And maybe someone has a poem to write or wants to make a picture or can write things that give historical facts and combine with history. So it was a great way to remember what we have learned through the school year. And they were really creative because they had no limitations. The only limitation was just connected with something. You can't do whatever you want. All these things have to have something in common. So they shared knowledge, they remembered things, they searched for information, and they worked together. They shared their ideas, they talked about it. And in the end, they presented. They practiced their public speaking. They had to write. So there are a lot of things being part of these projects. And this is what I personally like very much because it gives them different alternatives to work and learn. And this is very important. This is part of our participation in the Polar Star project and the methodology science as a whole. And in these two pictures, you can see the first was one of our activities about climate change. Students had to choose one painting about climate change, upload in Padlet, and then write a small text like they're journalists and present the problem and say how they feel about it. They had to provide the link and realize that whenever we use something from the internet, we have to use to provide the resource. Where did we find that? We can just use anything we want. We have copyrights about everything that it is online. So they learn to be honest and decent about what they're looking for and what they use. And the second picture is from our participation. Some of my students took part in the Juice Up Your Rocket competition. It was about the mission of European Space Agency, a spacecraft that would travel to Jupiter. And students should make a painting about what they learned, about the mission, what they think. And the winning painting would be decorating the spacecraft traveling. So it was huge idea for students to feel like, oh, maybe my painting will be there. And it's a huge motivation for them. It's a strong motivation. And they really enjoyed because we learned a lot about missions, about Jupiter, about our solar system. They had fun and they enjoyed. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I would be happy to answer to any questions. And as I said, I will share my resources for anyone who is interested.
Thank you so much, Maria, for these wonderful sharings. I'm sure that teachers would be getting ideas. I could see in the chat box that there were a lot of applause for the sharings that you were doing. And I would surely forward the link that you will send me. So lastly, we have Miss Mari Rautavirta. Mari, would you please start?
Hello. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Ms. Niru, for this, for making this possible for us. I feel so excited, especially because India is #1 in my bucket list. Whenever this time of Corona will pass, that's #1 on my list right now. I will share my screen. Just a minute. Okay. Do you have my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, nice. So, as Niru introduced, my name is Mari Rautavirta and I'm from Finland. I used to work as a classroom teacher and then I studied a bit more and now I've been working as a special educator. My heart belongs to public schools and those students that are not coming from the privileged backgrounds. In Finland, our school system is totally public and it is all-inclusive system. It means that, for example, children of our president or our prime minister's children, they are sitting at the same classroom with the children of illegal immigrants. So every children in Finland goes to public school, which is the nearest school to his or her home. So our classrooms the students are very diversity. We have all special educated students or students with IEPs. They are at the normal classroom setting. So,
Mari, I would just like to add here, because there is a difference in terminology. All the government schools, that is the schools that are run by government, are called public schools.
They are called public schools, yes.
Yes, because in India, the private schools are also called public schools. So we have the government schools and the public schools.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make this here, I just wanted to make this clarification so that the audience back in India could relate to what you are addressing to. Ms. Mari is talking about the schools run by government.
Yes, when I speak about public schools, it means that they are run by government. And that's the only format of schools in Finland. And I have had my whole education at those schools, and now I'm teaching at those schools. So I have a minor in teaching technology, and I choose to speak about that topic today because the time is so limited. I choose to have just one topic. I'm very interested in teaching technology, but I'm not a technology nerd. I don't have background of gaming or being interested in all the devices. I love technology when it is a tool to get something else. And with teaching technology, we can jump over very many barriers that are in teaching and in learning. So I think it is a very important tool but it shouldn't be used only because it is technology. We have to have some goals to achieve. In nowadays, Finnish education system is quite nice, but it hasn't been so always. When I was a first grader in 1993, we had one computer in our classroom, and that was a depression time in Finland during when considering to economics. So we had quite big classrooms. I was at the classroom of 40 students, and we had one computer. But still, even nowadays, I have very nice memories when I used that computer and what we did with that. For example, during the recess time, we had always chance to use Paint program. It was a program used for drawing. I don't know if that program exists anymore, but our teacher allowed us to use that one single computer that we had. We usually use that with someone else, but it gave us opportunity to have fun with the tool and to know that we can use it. It's available, it's easy, and you can do nice things with that. And I have kept that memory in my mind to think that it's not about the devices we have or about how many devices we have. It's about giving opportunities to children to try and to feel that they are good with computers, they are good with devices, and they are capable of using them. Here at this picture, I have at this presentation, the first picture. This is from my classroom when I started my teaching career. At that time, we already had more teaching technology at schools, but we had computer labs, and in our normal classrooms, we had only that one advice. And I would like to share a few examples to use that one single device. In this picture, there is two of my students. They are fourth grade students. And, oh, not yet there, here. And I had this idea of writing weekly letters to home. Every week on Fridays, I picked two students, and they were allowed to write a letter to home, which I would send to all the homes, all parents from my classroom. And they were allowed to write what has happened during the week in our classroom. And it was very nice to see what are the important things from the students' perspective. I myself got very often very gladly surprised about the topics they choose to write and tell to their parents. Then I put a small sticky note to them if I wanted to inform something to home. For example, that next week we have swimming, so remember to take swimming suits and what you need. So my students wrote also that to the weekly letter. So it was also informative, those notifications from me to parents, but there were also greetings and happenings that happened during our week. And that was a small effort, but it was very, very liked. Parents loved that. There was we gave power to students and give them voice and opportunity to tell about our school week. And of course, it also saved my time because I didn't have to write that letter to home. All it takes from me was to put that sticky note, and if I have something I wanted to be there, and then reward that message to parents. So that was one thing that was very successful and liked by me, parents, and the students. And it was done with one computer and with very little effort. This picture is from my classroom right now. And with that teachers to the comfort zone, I would like to also share one example. In 2015, our CD provide iPads to all teachers. The idea was to get the teachers comfortable with the teaching technology. We have very many teachers that are not that comfortable using new technology, and they don't want to apply those things to the classrooms. And our city, we decided to not force them to use it, but really to make teachers feel comfortable using it step by step. So the city gave iPads to each and all of our teachers. We got them home. We were not forced to use them at all in our teaching. We got them home, so we had time to study those. We have time to study how to take pictures, how to share pictures, how to download apps, what is possible to use there. And bit by bit, we provided workshops, small workshops, for example, with one particular application or with how to share documents. And with this kind of way to introduce this technology, we got very, very good results. Also, those teachers that already had very much experience in teaching, and they have very much knowledge, but they were not comfortable with technology. They had time to study that at home bit by bit, and they got very excited about it. And at our teachers' lounge, they often wanted to hear more, and bit by bit, they get very comfortable using it, and they get excited about the new possibilities. And we got very good feedback from those teachers that they liked this approach because they were not forced to use anything, and they were giving enough time and possibility to get familiar with the devices. In this picture, every student has one iPad. In some other classes, they have laptops. In 2015, our curriculum went a bit too far with teaching technology. And that is why I want to highlight that more is not always better. We have to have a specific idea about the goal we want to achieve with using technology. We went, from my perspective, too far. We had only devices for our students not at all books or notebooks like hard copy books. And we tried that for a few years, but we noticed it's not good. Our levels on achievement got lower, and now we also know that it is not good for students still very much developing brains to only use electronic devices and platforms to study. So that is one thing that I wanted to highlight, that even though I love teaching technology, more is not always better. And then I will take it. In this picture, there are 3D printed small balls for board games. These are made by my small children, special children. These are 3D printed by my first graders. I like to introduce different kind of teaching technologies to my students, and also to those small ones. It's not only for high school kids. I think it's important that if we have even one 3D printer in the city, or one set of VR classes or devices, we can borrow them from another school and introduce that technology to our children. So they get the idea that what is possible, and that it is possible for them to print. And it's not something difficult or something that couldn't be used by them. So that's one thing that I wanted to highlight, to give that opportunity also for the small students. Then about the different programs and apps. There are multiple apps available, and I like to use those that are for free. But especially I like to use those that are developed or researched by the universities. At the Scandinavian countries, I know that field of study the best, so I can only talk about that. We have very much university studies about teaching technology programs. So I would like to introduce you to one of those. It's called Ekapeli. We have researched during 20 years about how it has worked and what is being achieved with it. It's my favorite because we have this very, very strong research background. And I choose to use these devices not to share it from the screen, so I will stop my sharing for a minute. I choose to use these different apps because it is important to use those apps that are available at students' home. They often have a smartphone, even though they don't have a laptop. This one is, we have this very cute student here. Her name is Niro. She has already played this for a while. So this program is for reading.
Sika.
This is for first graders for phonetics. Niru has already completed all the Finnish alphabet, so she is already in a bit advanced level. In Finnish language, there is a big difference with if there is a long sound or a short sound, which is here if it is 1K or 2K. So students have to very carefully hear the difference, the small differences. Niru is not yet sure, so she will listen.
Sika. Sika. Kari.
And if she's not sure, she can.
Kari. Sika.
This is a game where I, as a teacher, I can follow my students' achievements. I can give her homework from this game, and from my computer, I see how she is developing with that one. And this has been very, very useful, and we have had very good good results with that one, especially with the students with the learning difficulties. It is also motivating. You get different presents when you achieve some level. And the recommendation from the university is to use it 10 minutes per day, no more. The idea is to use 10 minutes, 5 days a week. So it's also important not to use it too long. That what we have to highlight to our parents, because they think it's easy way and very good device and good results. But we get those good results with doing only 10 minutes a day. Then we also keep students' motivation very high when we are not even letting them to do it to that point that they get bored with that one. Then I have another app which is free. This is mostly for motivating children and for small children to read. This is also a free application. This is a dog to read. When you start reading it, now when I speak, this dog noticed that I am reading to it. And when I read to it for 10 minutes, it will get some presents. And then there is like a sticker book that gets presents. So we have this is only few that I decided to show, but I have found these applications a very powerful tool to motivate small children, especially those with learning difficulties. And quite often parents, they are worried about their child if the child is not learning as quickly or as well as the others in the classroom. And they often ask me that, what could I do at home? I have work, I have other children, I don't have much time, but I would really like to help my child. So often parents are very pleased to hear about some free apps that are research that we have proved that they are working. And they work with the very normal basic smartphones. So these were two things that I want to share about these advices. Then I could again share my screen. So that's quite what I had in my mind to tell about you. And if you have anything you would like to discuss more, please write me email.
Thank you so much, Mari. And I remember having fun on the Ekapali app. And yes, I did get to the advanced level of using phonetics. Thank you so much. News from Indiana University of Pennsylvania. It has started snowing. And we are all very excited to go outside just after the session. All of us would be heading outside. So, and it's almost time also. Thank you for joining us. Rohit, Gaurav.
Yes. So I request Vivek sir, if we have any question for the panelists, Vivek sir, please.
Yeah, there is only one question that cropped up just in my mind. It is about interdisciplinary learning that Maria referred to, right?
Yes.
So for multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary learning, one needs some kind of to develop transversal skills. So do you guys get some special training to develop those skills, or how do you develop them actually? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. There are a lot of training programs for professional development for teachers. So they can not only enhance their skills and their knowledge, but also learn about the specific teaching methods that they can promote and how we can combine these subjects and what activities can we suggest and implement and how we can implement. It's like being trained to create step-by-step activities, having very specific learning outcomes, having very specific subjects that we connect, and there's a connection between them and the curriculum in our school. And more teachers every year take part in these training programs, and this is why we have a really big participation and active participation in these projects. And it helps not only in interdisciplinary teaching about science, but when we teach history, for example, it doesn't have to be only science and STEAM, because language is in everything. And math is also in everything. And when we talk about science, we can talk about the science of when we talk about history, we can talk about the history of science, the history of arts, history of engineering, and this is something that we can apply to all of our lessons and our activities. So yes, there are a lot of training programs for professional development, and most of them are organized by universities and international organizations for science internationally, not only in Greece, but also in Europe. And I'm very happy to have attended, and a lot of my colleagues also, so we can also exchange ideas and collaborate through projects. And this way of teaching in a disciplinary way. Thank you. I hope I covered your question.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you.
Rohit, you are on mute.
Yes, sorry. So with this, I request Mr. Gaurav, who is also a mentor teacher and a good friend of mine, for the both of things. Mr. Gaurav is also a Fulbright Fellow and alumni of the same FDI program 2019-20 from Arizona State University, Arizona. Gaurav sir, please.
Hello, good morning and good evening to everyone. And I'm so excited while I was through this session, and I was just recalling all my days in Arizona while all you people were speaking. So for the vote of thanks, first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Gerald from Uganda, who presented his views on role of co-curricular activities. Thank you so much. And from your session, my takeaway was that you just need one ball to engage the whole school. It was simply amazing. Yes, we could never have thought of such a great utility of just one ball. So thank you so much. And I still remember Jonathan and Joseph Ikorath from Uganda. They used to be my roommates in Arizona State University, during the program FDAI 2019. Next, I would like to thank Ms. Delane from Uganda. who presented her views on dealing with students dealing with learning disabilities. Well, thank you so much for teaching us this exciting way of blending sense of humor while you are teaching some good things. I just, liked that very much. And then my takeaway from your presentation was verbalizing written instructions while we are dealing with students whom we call slow learners sometimes. Secondly, the importance of calling our learners or students by names. Yes, exactly. It is very, very important. And thank you for highlighting this, Ms. Dallin. Then I would like to extend my thanks to Ms. Maria from Greece. Innovation in education was her presentation topic. I liked the idea of global science opera. Two words, science and opera, being used in the same sentence. Oh, I just so loved it. Thank you so much for explaining it. And most importantly, thank you for ensuring to break the stereotypical image of scientists with crazy hairs and white coats. Thank you so much for telling us that it's not always the case. Yes, I'm grateful. Next, I would like to thank Ms. Mari Rautavirta from Finland. And before I extend my thanks to you, ma'am, I would like to tell you that Annalena and Elena from Finland, they were there with me during the 2019 program. And, amazing interventions we used to discuss about the pedagogy, about the various other things that education can cover. So teaching technology, and especially when you say that it's not about the devices and technology we have at hand, it's actually about how much time we give to the student to interact with that technology. It is my takeaway from your exceptional presentation. So thank you so much for this beautiful presentation. Neeru, my colleague, mentor teacher, I would like to thank you for beautifully moderating this session today and for being the weather teller to us and for exciting us with the news that it's going to be snowing out there to where you are at the moment. And thank you for being exceptionally mindful and telling us the difference between a government school and the way the term public school was being used by Mari. It helped us a lot. Then, Vivek, thank you for being the question accountant of the day. You literally kept account of all the questions and you ensured that no question left unanswered. Thank you so much. All the participants, I thank you for being so patient and for being so willing to be here and to learn something new. I thank you also for asking some amazing questions, which really helped me, and I'm sure helped all of us to learn more from our intellectual participants today. And I would also like to extend my gratitude to Rohit, who has conceptualized this amazing platform, Let's Talk Education, through which we are connected today. And when I'm using the word connected, I would definitely like to pay gratitude to Zoom as well, because it's only because of this platform that we are looking each other, we are listening to each other, and we all are smiling with our hearts full. Thank you so much. Over to you, Rohit.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm just, wait, let me just win here. And my heartfelt gratitude, actually. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining with us in Let's Talk Education session. This is actually a 3-part series this time. We will be back with the part 2 and part 3 of this very soon with the Fulbright Fellows next week. Please remember to thank the panelists and share all learnings of this session on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, using Let's Talk Education as a hashtag and tagging Let's Talk Education and the panelists, of course, Neeru ma'am and all the person behind the curtain also. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are just taking a screenshot, so I want everyone on the screen, so we can make. Please smile and come closer to the camera. Chandan bhai, can you please take the screenshot? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.